Hey everybody, let's take a look at module number 7. Module number 7 is titled Joining the Conversation Through Argument. So last time we were talking about researching the conversation. So that's where we took a topic and we really tried to research what it was about. Okay. Now we want to be able to join. And I really like the thought behind this module because you can't engage in the discussion, the argument, the discussion if you don't know anything about it. Like, we know those people, they come in, they say things, they're kind of, out of pocket and unhinged and unconnected, and they don't really help the matter any, right? That's what we're trying to get at here. So once you've researched it and you've come up with some information and you have knowledge about the topic, then how do we effectively join the conversation? And that's where we really want to get to. Now, this is a huge thing that can be used in any class, but in just society and your life in general, right? Like it's all about how to be a productive, uh, and constructive contributor to the discussion. So that's what we're going to be looking at here, joining the conversation through argument. Now, just as a refresher, when we say argument, we're not talking about yelling at people, nose to nose, toe to toe, throwing hands or whatever. We're saying this is my stand on the issue, right? This is my stand on the issue. This is my take, and this is why, right? So if I said, whatever restaurant has the best cheese dip in town, because, and you give those reasons, right? That's what we're trying to do. You state your position, but then you explain the why. You give that reasoning and that rationale, that evidence. So again, like we always do, we start with our learning task, what we're trying to accomplish, and our objectives of what's going on. And then we look at our major writing project, our third major writing project. It's the argumentative paper. So a couple quick things before we get started. Uh, you will hear it called argument, the researched argument, the persuasive paper, the argumentative paper. Those are all, for our intents and purposes, basically the same, right? Now there is a difference between argument and persuasion. Okay, there is that, and we do need to acknowledge that. But for what we are doing here and for the purposes of this module, those are going to be used kind of interchangeably. Okay. Um, Again, remember, you are going to be trying to present your case in a way that not just this is what I believe, but this is why I believe it, and how I got there, and why you should buy into it too. So for this module number 7, we're going to do the half draft. Again, this will be 600 to 700 words. The final draft will be between 1,200 and 1,500 words. You must use either MLA or APA style, and either one is fine. But, we talk about style, and we've talked about that before. Those are one of those places where you build the trust of the audience, right? And so style is important. And I know sometimes people just kind of brush over it and whatever, right? It's just a thing. Well, it is a thing because it helps build trust of the audience. And it's really important here because when you're saying this is what I believe and this is why I believe it, the format in a way helps build that bridge, helps a little bit of that trust with the audience, right? So it's really essential. You're going to have an argumentative thesis statement. This is where you clearly state your position on a topic. Okay. Now, so we have that big, broad topic, technology and in society, and we're going to narrow it down. You're going to focus it on one aspect that you want to explore and you want to argue. And this is your take on it, right? And this is where you state that very clearly. Now, I do want to be careful when I say that your position. Yes, it is your position. It is what you believe should happen, and why it is, right? I get that. We do not want to use in the thesis statement, I say this, I believe this, my paper is about. We're not going to say that, right? Because anytime you bring yourself into the paper, you interject yourself into the paper, a skeptical, apathetic audience will use that against you. Like, what's your motivation? Why are you doing this? Why do you think you need to be part of this conversation? Also, using yourself as an example, like, well, in my life, I see this, my life, I see this. Well, so we have to ask ourselves, is that the common? Is that the norm? Because if it's the common and the norm, there's plenty of other examples we can take yourself out of it. If it is a very uncommon, if it's a very narrow piece of experience, the question is, why are you the only one that has it? And then, are you doing this in a self-serving way? So it really sets up it really sets you up for an audience to really kind of question. So I really, really, really suggest keep yourself out of it. I know I've written in a lot of the papers, the first and second person, I, we, us, you, those kinds of terms. Those are very casual and they set the wrong tone for your paper. Let's keep those out as well. Your introductory paragraph, obviously, this is where you engage the audience, you get our attention, you introduce the topic, you set the tone, right? We've talked about that. You've got a lot of information on that. Then you get into the arguments, okay? This is where you say, this is what I believe and why, right? And you just build that out. You give us example, research, walk us through the process, explain to us why and how this is, okay? Now, I do please, it is so important to get feedback and to get some input on what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you can do to really help yourself, right? Like, I think that's so important. The expectation for Module 7 is half, right? That is the expectation, and that's the minimum, and that's what you need to do. I cannot stress this enough, that this is one of the best places for you to have more than half. You have one more module to go. That module will be short, a little bit shorter than the rest. Okay, it's going to go by a lot faster, and there's no extra time in there to fix anything, right? Like, once you do this and you get the final, and then we're out, and that's it. When the class is in, the class is in. So this is a place where I really would suggest to you that if you had any ability to write more than half, this would be a great time to do that. Again, remember, you're going to get feedback on what you submit. It's not like I'm going to read half and just stop commenting on it. Right? You're going to get all. You're going to have peers look at it too. This is going to give you more of an opportunity to get more feedback on more of your paper. You're going to have more tools to help you out in the end. So I really recommend, if there's any way possible, to expand this out. Okay. And we have a lot of information that it'll be that helps you walk through that process. Nothing different than what you've had before. And the final draft obviously will be due in module number 8. Now, to help you out, we've got some information here, some slide decks. There's a lot of tutorials to help you through this. This idea of being an attorney. And one of the things I kind of appreciate about this is this fact that it's like, take a stand, right? Like, don't kind of this. It's okay here, but okay there. No, take a stand, right? Like, this is your point. This is where you stand on the issue, and this is why you stand on the issue, right? Take that stand, right? That is so important. And be an advocate. And what I think that means is that this isn't just for you. This is for others, right? You think about why this is important for others. You reach out and you show why other people should be concerned or educated about or, engaged with this topic, right? Those are very important points. And then when you write this thesis statement and you're thinking about your argument, there's 3 points I really want you to think about. Focusing it down to something very specific. Now, obviously, we can narrow it down to like too small. Okay, I get that. But think about one piece of the puzzle, right? One piece of the puzzle. You can't solve all the problems all at once. So is there a part of the problem that we can address, right? Let's look at this part here. Yes, social media is a huge, huge topic. We're going to focus on mental health. We're going to focus on kids in social media. We're going to focus on whatever, right? Like, you narrow it down, okay? It does have to be debatable. All legitimate arguments have other viewpoints, right? Like, there's other stances on the issue, right? I could say that here in Evansville, Los Bravos has the best cheese dip in town, right? Well, somebody else may come in and say, yeah, but I really like Hacienda cheese dip, right? And they have a differing viewpoint. For an argument to be legitimate, there has to be other viewpoints, right? And so expect that. We should be able to debate this issue. And then obviously it has to be supportable. And by that means that there is information out there that backs it up, that shows the problem. There's data, there's research, there's expert testimony, there's people that are talking about it, right? There's other things that we can be looking at. As you are building your arguments, 3 terms that we keep coming back to: the claim, the evidence, and the reasoning. This is how you could really build your argument. The first is the claim. This is where you specifically say, this is what I believe, right? Now, again, we're not going to say, I believe blank, because you wrote the paper. We assume you believe it, right? Evidence is where you back that up, you prove it, you show it to us, right? You pull in that data, 90% blank, this costs whatever, this is how long this has been a problem, this is where it comes from, whatever it might be. Evidence shows where it comes from, why it's a problem, what we need to know about that. Reasoning is your interpretation of that evidence and explaining it to the audience in a way that they get to see it the same way you do, right? Like you're going to walk through that evidence, you're going to walk through those processes to really show the reader this is how it is connected to you. This is why you should be engaged. This is why it matters to you, and why you should believe the same thing I do. We do get to the discussion post for Module 7, and this one is where you're going to start to really engage your classmates with your paper, your topic, and how you're going to pursue it, okay? So in your initial post, you're going to write a possible working statement, okay? You're going to start with that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to construct at least 4 different claims, okay? Remember, this is the I say, I believe, I think, I feel, I whatever, right? And using these different types of claims, okay? Now, I do believe that this is a really important part because I've said it before, I'll repeat it. Peer review, getting feedback from other people really helps you because sometimes you really don't know what you don't know. And I don't mean that like you have zero knowledge on a topic. I mean that you just don't know what you need to figure out about a topic, right? Like you just didn't know that. You didn't understand that. You didn't understand the process. You didn't know that that was a thing, that other people know that information and you don't, right? And so you really need to think this through. Now, to help you find those blind spots, other people engage. You reach out to other people. You share with other people. You bring other people into the process with you, and that allows them to help you see those blind spots, right? So this is super important. So you're going to post your possible thesis statement in various forms, and then you are going to respond to at least 2 other posts. Again, obviously, more people is better, right? More people is better. To get the full points on that, you need to have more than 2 points or 2 replies. Also, don't forget, this is a conversation, so it shouldn't be all on one day, right? Like you post on the middle of the module, then you post at the end of the module, and maybe in between, right? Like, you do this multiple times. It's a conversation. Please don't wait to the end of the module to post all of your work, because again, then if you do that, people who are posting at the very beginning don't have anyone to reply to, right? So think about that. Like you want to engage with the readers, your peers, over the course of the module. And then it gives you some ways to possibly respond to that, really talking about to the original poster what you think about their thesis, what really helps about that thesis, what makes it good, engaging, important, how they might finesse it, right? Like this is where you really give some feedback to people to help them with their paper. We do have some supplemental information here about thesis statements. Again, how to create that statement of purpose. This is my belief, and this is what my paper is about. I love these logical fallacies. First off, they're fun. Some of them are kind of fun, and the examples are kind of interesting. And then you're like, oh, that was a fallacy. I see that all the time, right? But also, too, I like to point these out because I really don't think logical fallacies are intentional misuse of logic, right? Like you intentionally manipulate the information to kind of color your argument or your proof or your reasoning, right? Like it's intentional. And I don't think most of us are really at that state that we are doing those intentional things in the way that we look at fallacies. But when you're doing your research, you want to be able to spot it in theirs, right? Like, okay, they make a really good argument, but did they really do it well, right? Like, did they do it correctly? And so having that kind of information, that knowledge of fallacies will help you evaluate your sources a little bit better. And then there's some information about APA and MLA style that you can use. And then we get to where you're going to submit the half draft. Now, I do want to caution you. Well, I want to remind you, first off, there is the rubric down here, right? Like, so early on, it tells you what about that paper. I do, again, suggest more is better. More of that paper, turn in more of that paper. Right? It can only help you. Here's the rubric of how it'll be graded. And then the thing I want you to think about is this. You are actually going to submit your half draft twice, okay? You're going to submit it here, in the Module 7 half draft assignment, and that's the one that I will get. That's the one where I go through and I make comments and I give you feedback and I give you some direction of where you need to go. But then you're also going to post a copy of it on the discussion board for your peer review. So technically this is going in on the Module 8, right? But you do have to submit it in both places. Don't submit it on one because I won't get it, right? Like, yeah, I mean, I'll see it. I do see it, but I won't be looking for it on the discussion board to give you feedback, right? I'll be looking at the half draft. Likewise, if you just put it on the assignment side, people won't be able to give you peer feedback, and you won't, get that help from others, from your peers, from your classmates. So you will submit this twice, okay? So please make sure that you are aware of that. Okay. Hey guys, so we are getting to the end. We are getting close to the end of the semester. Again, I've been telling you that you guys are doing great work. You guys are sticking to it. That is awesome. This is half the battle, just getting through the process, right? But please, 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 I've told you before, and I'm going to repeat, don't suffer in silence. If you need something, make sure you're reaching out. You're emailing me. You're coming to office hours. You're doing something, right? Like if there's something you need, please make sure you're reaching out, okay? Especially now as we get to the very end, time is very limited, and we do want to make sure that you have the best possible chances at success. So with that said, good luck, everybody.